Hi, my name is Robert Chase, and today we are preparing to make an important operating system switch to Windows 10 within the Tater Snacks Incorporated. Specifically, in this process, I'm in charge of devising and implementing a training strategy that will ensure a substantial level of productivity across the organization. In a time frame of about 10 minutes, I'll explain how the training process will be structured with a detailed blueprint that will include a timeline of when all personnel should complete training prior to the desired beginning of the rollout date. I will also explain how the training process is to be executed and how to proceed with unforeseen problems when they occur. As we begin our journey through the details of the training process as it pertains to Tater Snacks Incorporated, it's good to know why training before the operation begins is much needed. Some of those reasons include to ensure that the process stays on track with overall OS rollout plan, to ensure that problems that may occur can be handled and resolved as quickly as possible, to ensure that productivity is not hindered by the lack of proper apparel, and lastly, to ensure a smooth and successful transition to the new operating system is achieved. Some of the problems that can occur within this rollout process, 9 times out of 10, can be avoided simply by training personnel properly. Some of those problems can occur due to lack of proper preparation, can include the rollout launch date can be deferred, which can extend the time it takes to complete the rollout plan. Data can get lost or gets misplaced. When problems arise, solutions to fix the problem are not obtained in a timely manner. And lastly, productivity across other departments helping to ensure a successful OS rollout can be hindered. Now that we've touched on why it's important to train staff as it pertains to this major switch, I will now go into a little detail about how the training process will begin and end. One of the best ways to train staff is to have a presentation set up that details all of the features and applications, and maybe even processes that one or more individuals can come in contact with. As it pertains to the training by way of lecture or presentation, some of the ways that will be used to help train staff will be to split the staff up into groups and train that particular group separately with the presentation slide. This will act as an introduction to some features or applications that particular teams may come in contact with. Secondly, you can have a specified time for questions related to any features or applications and answer other questions as needed. This part of the process is key because it will set the tone of how well each group will be prepared for the operations of the operation system rollout date. In terms of where this step is on the STT or staff training timeline, this step is the very first point on the timeline. When teaching anyone, whether it be small children or adults, including a way that makes the learning process interactive, which in turn makes learning easier, is a good tool to use, and for our purposes, that same logic can apply. The staff will have to participate in interactive learning devices, such as designated workshop days related to the newest features on the new operating system, training assignments that challenge overall comprehension of new features and or applications, and training exercises that will test that particular group's ability to use the new application and or feature, as well as navigate through and troubleshoot problems that can occur while using them. This particular step will be the longest out of the 3-step training program due to its need to be more thorough. This being said, depending on the start of the training process, this step may need to take a minimum of 4 to 5 weeks. And depending on how simple it is to use the feature or tool, you can gauge how many more weeks you can add to it or subtract from it. Now, as stated before, depending on the start date of the training process and the simplicity of the tool, the time needed to train or get familiar with the features included on the operating system may take a minimum of or time needed may be 1 to 2 hours daily. And again, this depends on how simple it is to either navigate the app or a feature or overall simplicity of use. This method of training will ensure that each designated team or group is getting the proper amount of exposure daily to what exactly they will be using once the new OS is in use. The best point to assess the progress of a group and determine if additional training is needed would be probably in the third week, closer to the fourth week. On the staff training timeline, this would be considered the midway point. Nearing the end of the training period is just as important as the introduction phase to training. At this point of an STT or staff training timeline, it is important to make sure that the training period end date is not too far off from the initial rollout date. This is in order to maintain the freshness of information that was taught to each group. And at this point, your staff should be properly trained and are ready to encounter the new features and applications when it comes time to roll out the new operating system. Now that I've touched on some of the top layer stuff that would be implemented in terms of structure, we will now be talking about what specifically groups of people or some staff will be learning in terms of the new operating system. The implementation of training that has been gone over in some detail within the staff training timeline has gone over what is needed in part, but as I stated before, let's try to go over some of the tools that some staff may be encountering. Some of the tools that some staff may be encountering include security improvements such as Windows Hello and Microsoft Defender Antivirus. They may also encounter a new start menu layout and as well as Cortana. Something new with the operating system that is to be rolled in is the new Microsoft Edge browser. One of the other products that is introduced with this new OS is Quick Assist, which allows other users to help out other computer users with any problems they may have. We started off at the beginning talking about the kinds of devices that you can use to train or teach someone about a certain area or subject. Being that one of those devices was the use of a presentation setup of some sort, it would be appropriate to use videos that can be related to the topic to help those in the training session. Some of those videos can be seen above, and exposure to specific topics can be tailored specifically to what that group may encounter day to day. Let's take a look at one of those videos.
As a designer, I'm definitely one of a kind. Windows Hello on my new Windows 10 PC makes my
Oops,
unique unique looks the key to faster login than as a designer, I'm definitely one of a kind. Windows Hello on my new Windows 10 PC makes my unique looks the key to faster login than ever before. To set up Windows Hello, I just go to Settings, click Accounts, Sign In Options, Face Scan, and that's it. I can use face, fingerprint, PIN, or password. I love it because it's one less password to remember.
To conclude this presentation, we will recap the points that were talked about. Today, we first explained the importance of training before an OS rollout and the repercussions of not being properly prepared. We then talked about some of the ways to implement the best training strategy by first starting with an introduction and specifying what can be done in the introductory stage to set the correct tone. We then segued over into how training will be set up in an interactive way and specified some of the tools you can use to make the training process interactive. In that section, we also touched on how long this process is supposed to take. And lastly, we talked about how the end of the training is just as important as the beginning. And we also gave further examples of what some of those tools you can use, like video sources, and what specifically staff may encounter with this new OS. Again, I'd like to thank you for your time and your consideration, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.